What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode number 15 of the Big Five Pod. And Happy New Year. First episode of 2023. How about that? We're ready to roll here in the new year. We got a lot of college basketball to go over the rest of the year, and a lot of college basketball that's been played so far in this week of this year already. So we're gonna get into that. I am, of course, your co-host, Kyle Morello, and right here we got the one and only Jake Copestick. How we doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. I had a fun New Year's. It was down in Seattle City. Always a good time down there.
Much
The
respect.
weather, yeah, always great time. Never get old. Go down to Seattle, and then New Year's Day, I got a ride into the city. Got dropped off to go watch the Temple game, which is actually my first one at the League Course Center as an alumni. I had to pay for a ticket because my student ID worked anymore, which I kind of have a gripe
That's
with,
messed up.
but I
Yeah.
can't. I'm not here to complain. It used to be very easy. You could just show your ID and get in. Now they want you to go through some system to, you know, you got to log in with your ID and do all this other stuff to make it harder for people to get in there. Which I don't think they should do because they don't really get that big of a turnout. Now this is a holiday break. I'm not here to complain. So we'll move on from that. We'll talk about Temple later. But it's good New Year's for me. Doing well. Some of the Big Five teams are doing kind of well. Temple picked up a big win. We'll talk more about that. Penn won last night. So I think it's been a pretty solid start to 2023 for the Big Five for sure.
Yeah. Much respect to Seattle City. Like I said, we love Seattle. Yeah, no, it's been a good go for the most part for Big Five teams so far. Actually, we did have some losses we'll go over, some close games. But very excited to get into this. Before we start, real quick, we can't go on in the sports world without mentioning Damar Hamlin, the Bills safety, who went down with a cardiac arrest in the game on Monday night against the Bengals. And I read on Twitter before the show that he's doing a little better. He's down to 50% oxygen on the oxygen tubes that they put in. So that's great news. But thoughts and prayers as much as we can to Damar Hamlin and his family and the Buffalo Bills. That was so scary to watch. I know you were watching too. Just awful. And today felt very weird. Just doing more normal things, knowing that someone was fighting for his life, and we all saw it on national television. So I just wanted to say that real quick. But without further ado, we're going to get into the games. We had a big one, the Big East, come down to the wire. Unfortunately, Villanova did not come out victorious in that one. They lost to Marquette 68-66. But there were some decent performances. Cam Whitmore, bounce back game from him, 14 and 8 on 6 of 9 shooting. Eric Dixon also had a pretty good game, 13 and 7 on 5 of 10 from the field. Caleb Daniels, 13 of his own, 4 of 14 though. A couple interesting things here. They won rebounding, 38-27, which I feel like you don't see often from this Nova team. They're not the biggest in the world, but uncharacteristically of them, they did have 13 turnovers. So that will definitely hurt you, especially in close games like this. So their second straight quality opponent in the Big East here. Most of the Big East opponents are quality, but in particular, Marquette and UConn are among them. What did you see in this one from the Wildcats?
So in the first half, offense is clicking for them. You mentioned Cam Whitmore had a great game, 14 points for him. Finally got his first start in a Wildcats uniform, and he played well. He hit some shots. I felt like the last couple games, I don't know, people started to figure him out. He had he had 3 good games under his belt that people had seen, and people just kind of forced him into taking a lot of tough shots in the perimeter. He was over dribbling, trying to do a little bit too much, take some bad shots, not in the flow of the offense. But I thought this game he was able to get downhill a little bit. He hit a couple threes to start out, got in a bit of a groove. Nice for a guy like that when you struggled the last couple games to be able to see a couple go through the net. But not only were they making shots, but they were to get into the paint, penetrate a little bit, get some easy looks. And the second half really was where obviously the second half, yeah, that's where the game's decided, but it was the last 13 minutes or so. Brandon Slater hits a jumper just in front of the 13-minute mark. And from that point on, Villanova scored 11 points, which is not going to, and it was a pretty low scoring affair late in the second half. Nova only scored 22 points. This wasn't an offensive barrage here, but what Marquette did defensively was pretty spectacular. I mean, they were able to basically keep Nova on the 3-point line, just have him swing the ball side to side. They rotated and recovered very well, played very good gap defense, not allowing people to get into the paint and penetrate. And they made him a jump shooting team. And this Nova team takes a lot of threes, but it's been documented before they'll win games if they can make a lot of threes. But in this game, they took 57 shot attempts, 33 of them being threes, especially late in the second half. In the second portion of that second half, they really were just a kind of a one-dimensional jump shooting team. Chris Arcidiakonos hit a couple shots. He hit a couple shots late for them, but to me, that's where this game was decided. Marquette was able to get a big basket from Iguodaro late in the game to put him up to on some good penetration. But this Nova team just became one-dimensional. They took a lot of jump shots, but it not only was it Nova, I feel like not trying to get in the paint a little bit more, but this Marquette defense was pretty outstanding for the last 10, 12 minutes of this game, not giving them anything easy. Everything was contested, and they made him take a lot of tough long-range shots. So that's where this game was decided. You mentioned that they did out-rebound them, which is great. They have 13 turnovers. Again, not what you see from them. And although it's not a ton of turnovers, they were able to turn Marquette over 8 times. It's little things like that that can come back to bite you in a 2-point game. So got to give Marquette credit. Really good defensive second half. In addition to, hey, there's a second year in a row they've wanted to Finn. It's not an easy place to win, and especially in Big East play and conference play on the road. So credit to Marquette. They had another good win tonight on the road at St. John's, but they played a really good defensive second half, and you got to give them credit. Nova just got to figure out ways to score, get in the paint, and not become one-dimensional, because if the jump shots aren't falling, you can't. Nova's a team that tends to shoot a lot of threes. That you use that term. They live and die by the three. But for this game, you can't force them up there. You got to try something else. Try and get in the paint, get some easy looks for yourself, or maybe get some open threes if you can drive and kick. So got to give credit to Marquette on a close win here. It was a hard-fought game, but Nova had a bit of a lead that they let slip away. But it's to a quality opponent. It's not a bad loss, but credit goes to Marquette because they really played a hell of a game, especially that second portion of the second half.
Yeah, like you said, they're a much more jump shooting team than anything else on offense. And unfortunately, sometimes when you're going, and when you're not, you're just not. And like you said, you live by the 3, die by the 3. And in the second half of that game, they died by the 3. And they died by the jump shot. So unfortunate, but hopefully they can bounce back in their next one, which we will get into in a little bit here. All right, moving on to the A10. LaSalle losing to VCU. Excuse me, 80-67. A name I feel like we haven't really said in a while. Josh Nickelberry had a pretty good game. 21 points and 6 boards on 8 of 15 from the field. Jameer Brickus, 16 points on 5 of 9, which is pretty good. And of course, Cleo Brantley, you're not going to keep him down. 14 points on 6 of 12 from the field. However, the rest of the team was 7 of 28, and that is good for 25%, which is not going to work. They also only shot 27.8% from 3, which again, I'm not saying they live and die by the 3, but shooting that percentage is not great. And of course, the main thing we talk about with this LaSalle team is turnovers. 18 of them for the Explorers. They did force VCU to have 15, but it kind of gets counteracted with them turning the ball over 18 times. That's a lot of turnovers. Though they did. And VCU shot 42% from the field. So it's not like they shot crazy, but yeah. So rough one for the Explorers. They've dropped 4 of 5. Hasn't looked great for them. What is the outlook for this team right now?
So, I mean, you hit it right on the head there. We've brought it up pretty much every time we've talked about him. It's the turnovers that kill him. And I said going into this game, unfortunately, they're going into a pretty hostile environment, one of the hardest places to win in the Atlantic 10, going to VCU in the Siegel Center. And unfortunately, LaSalle's flaws just kind of play right into what VCU is good at. They're going to pressure you. And especially VCU, they want to pressure you anyway. When they see a team that's susceptible to giving the ball up, they're going to want to pressure even more. They're going to know that there's blood in the water when they press. So that's what it comes down to. And LaSalle played a good first half. Jameer Brickus was able to score a little bit. Nickelberry was on fire, and I think he had 13 of his 21 in the first half, and he played very well, and he kept him in the game for sure. But it's the rest of the team that's got to, you're going to have games like this. We know that those 3 guys, Brickus, Brantley, and Nickelberry, are gonna do your scoring and are going to have the ball in screens, are going to have the ball in catch and shoot opportunities. Those are your main guys that are going to score. But when they have solid games like this, I feel like this is a game that you should win. They just couldn't get contributions from anywhere else. Rokas Josius got another start here. He picked up 2 fouls in the first 8 minutes. He didn't play a ton in this game. Ducore came off the bench and was able to put some balls in the basket for him. But they got to cut down on the turnovers here. We know this isn't going to be, like a top tier team. This is a first year head coach in Fran Dunphy. I mean, obviously not first time, but it's his first year here. They kind of got slammed in the portal a little bit with guys leaving. Now, guys are already out the door midseason last year, but we kind of know what this team is going to be. They're going to be feisty. They're going to scrap. They were competitive for a lot of this game. They were even up 9 points in the first half. So they're just kind of inconsistent right now. And this is kind of a game that I thought was very telling of that. They look great in the first half. We're almost up double digits on the road against one of the top tier teams in this conference. They let it slip away, a lot of turnovers, a lot of points off turnovers. They missed some gimmies at the rim. So I think it's going to be an up and down year. That's kind of what the status of this team is for sure. But it was a solid first half from them. They were scrappy, they were competitive. But the defense tightened up on Nickelberry in the second half. And then you basically just had Brickus and Brantley trying to bring you home. So good first half from them. But again, man, these turnovers are going to kill them. And until that gets cleaned up and you're going to give away possessions like that, and you're going to give the ball away and then let the other team score and let VCU get out in transition, they're probably going to – sometimes these games are going to be rough. You're going to continue to do that. So I think we kind of know what this team is. They can scrap. They can be competitive. They can probably be in any game, any night. But they're also susceptible to doing this as well, turn the ball over, and then making it kind of ugly. So that's where this team's at right now. Hey, it's only the first game of conference play. It's a long season, but not exactly the most tidy game from them. At least it wasn't 25 like they had at Cincinnati, but 18 turnovers is still a ton, whether you're on the road against a good defense, hard place to play. You still can't turn the ball over that many times.
No. And they're not a talented enough team to overcome that, which might be a little harsh to say, but it is true. I mean, they have scrappy guys. They have guys maybe who are untapped, but they don't have like Penn, for example, has some real scoring talent and guys who can, Jordan Dingle, Clark Slacker, who we'll get to in a few minutes here, but like they have guys like that. Like Villanova has guys who can pull them out of deficits, like Cam Whitmore and Caleb Daniels, Eric Dixon. The roster as a whole for LaSalle isn't that. And if they're going to always have more turnovers than their opponents, they're not going to win many games. And that's the reality of it. Until they clean that up, they're going to be in this rut. And that's the bottom line. That's what Fran Dunphy, I think, probably knows that he needs the stress, but he definitely should continue to, because it's unacceptable. You can't turn the ball over this many times and expect to win basketball games. All right, we're going to keep in the A10. St. Joe's losing a close one to St. Louis, 70-38. We kind of said coming in, St. Louis was on a little bit of a slide. Maybe it would have been nice to steal a win against probably a better team. Weren't able to do so, unfortunately. Some decent games, though, here. Eric Reynolds, 18 points on 7 of 16 from the field. Cam Brown, 17 points on 5 of 11. Obina had 13 off the bench on 6 of 8 shooting, rather. And St. Louis had their way against St. Joe's, 52.5% from the field. They were out-rebounded 40-30. This is probably the killer right here. 9 of 17 from the line. Especially in a 5-point game. Even if they hit 2 of those, it changes the possessions a little bit, and it's a completely different game. So they need to clean that up. They were also out-assisted 26-17 and had 12 turnovers, which isn't a ton, but not great. So I feel like this is a game that they very much could have had. We talked about some things like the free throw percentages they need to clean up, and obviously they let St. Louis shoot almost or 52.5% from the field. So it's just lacking in some things, but some positives as well. What do you think? Which one outweighed the other, the positives or the negatives?
So I think there's definitely some you can take from both here. Now, positive, and I hate to not give you like a square answer here, but there's some I feel like you can take from both. This early in the season, your first game in conference play, to play against a team that is projected, to be with Dayton to be a top 2 team in this league. It's promising to do that because you had a chance to win at home. You definitely did. The free throws don't help, and unfortunately, it's little things like that. Again, now rebound of 40-30 that can be the difference in a close game, especially in conference play when it's always up in the air and always close. But they have guys that can score. Cam Brown's been on a tear lately. He's been scoring the ball and shooting the ball very well for them, which is big to kind of take the offensive pressure off of a guy like Eric Reynolds, who doesn't need to be Superman every night. Lynn Greer was in double figures still, but it's pretty solid game from Eric Reynolds here. And then Eduke Obina, he could have sulked. He could have said, I'm not starting anymore. They have a freshman playing over me. For him to come in 13 points off the bench, he had to battle with some of the bigs and Jake Forrester and Francis Okoro. It was a pretty solid game for him. But then negatives, we talk about the defense for the St. Joe's team, giving up a lot of points, giving up open threes, the 3-point defense. And there's a team in St. Louis that they got, in my opinion, a pretty good coach in Travis Ford, a terrific point guard, and Yuri Collins, a great shooter in Jimerson. They're going to run a lot of sets. Like the first set they ran, it was very, very good. The first offensive set, Jimerson sets a weak side screen. He gets a screen for him to come to the top and curl for a 3. And he was open. He missed it, but he was open, and he got a couple open looks, and ultimately it had 22 points in this game. So they were competitive against a team that's considered to be toward the top of this conference. Now, again, I said last episode, not really saying a ton because the A10's fallen off this year, and it's not been very good.
Sure.
But then the negatives, it's that defense, the 3-point defense, giving up open looks, can't have your opponents make more than they miss. And then, on their end, free throws can be a killer sometimes. It's just the way it is. Got to make your free ones. And like you said, if you go 11 for 17, we're looking at a whole different ball game here. So yeah, there's some from both buckets that you can take here. But I'd say for, a team like this to at home put themselves in a position to almost beat one of the best teams in the league, it's definitely not all negative. There's some positives they can take from this. But defensively, they have to be better. And I'm sure they know that. If they don't allow their opponents to score in the 80s consistently and above that, this team will win a lot more games. But until we see that, they're going to probably still keep having these struggles.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some changes that need to be made. And they got to hit their damn free throws. You can't go 9-17 from the line, expect to win a game. So definitely got to figure that out and figure some other things out. But they have some young talent. They just got to be able to put it together. And, they can't really expect them to win right away with all this young talent they have. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But only the first conference game, so not the end of the world. All right. Let's go to Cincinnati, where Temple beat the Bearcats 70-61. And listen, in a million years did not think I would say this sentence. This was the Jaleel White game. Career high, 14 points, 16 rebounds. He went 6 of 8 from the field. Phenomenal. I mean, you can definitely say he was the reason that they won this game. I know there was a 9-point victory, so it wasn't like it was, they weren't squeezed to death at the end, but there was a decently close game, and Jaleel White definitely helped them with the win here. Some other performers though: Zach Hicks, 13 and 8 on 4 of 8 from the field. Hysier Miller, 11.7 rebounds, 4 of 12 from the field, though not crazy shooting percentages. Caleb Battle off the bench, 14 on 5 of 10. 44% from 3 for the Owls, which is among their season highs, which is very encouraging to see. They also out-rebounded Cincinnati 46-28, which is like a lot more than I think anyone would expect, even for this Temple team. Especially for this Temple team, rather. The one thing, though, and we talk about this, just like we talked about with LaSalle, 15 turnovers for the Owls. I know they won the game, but definitely something they still need to watch out for and clean up. Cope, talk to me about Jaleel White. What was the reason that he was able to get it going in this game?
So I don't mean to correct you, but it was a career high 16 rebounds. I believe he had 17 in a game last year.
Okay.
So not quite career high points, but definitely career high rebounds.
Yes.
So, obviously he's going to play a lot of minutes. He's a guy that and he got the start. Caleb Battle and Damian Dunn both came off the bench for this game. Damian Dunn coming off the concussion. Caleb Battle, we've seen him kind of jumbled around in the starting lineup coming off the bench. So Jaleel White started this game. They want him playing a lot of minutes because he's one of their, if not their best defender. So they want him on the court. He was active on the glass, but he was aggressive in trying to find his shot, whether it's a little shot in the lane, whether it's getting the basket, getting free throws. He was just aggressive in trying to score, and they needed him because when you don't have Dunn and Battle in the starting lineup, they need to turn to other guys. We know Zach Hicks can shoot, but not really sure how much you can expect out of John Cooch and Nick Jourdain. Hysier Miller's been playing a lot better, but he was very active on the glass. And I guarantee you the Temple probably wins every single game that Jaleel White has 16 rebounds in. Now, some of that you have to not give credit to Cincinnati, but some of that is because Cincinnati was not only missing shots, they were taking really, really bad shots, very quick shots, contested shots. Didn't even get the ball moving or get into any sort of offensive set. Their shot quality was very poor in this game, but got to give him credit offensively, on the glass. He was aggressive and sticking his nose in there and trying to do his thing and help them win. And to me, that was the difference. He played really well. Hysier Miller maybe didn't shoot the ball well, but he's been playing better as of late too, which is going to be big for them. Obviously still young, only being a sophomore, but he's a starting point guard for this team now. So they're going to need him to step up and play well if they want to win games. But this is a very encouraging win. I felt like I was watching last year's Temple team. And when they made the run in conference where they lose the conference opener to Houston, and then they rip off 6 of their next 7. That's the kind of team I thought I was watching. They were crashing the glass. Now, obviously, Cincinnati missed a lot more shots, a lot more opportunities for rebounds, but limiting them to 1 shot on the offensive end, not giving up offensive rebounds, playing pretty good defense. Now, Cincinnati, like I said, the shot quality was terrible, but still, you can't fault Temple for that. If they're going to bail Temple out like that, then so be it. But offensively, they did enough. Caleb Battle came off the bench and was his usual lightning rod self, hitting some really, really tough threes that kind of sucked the life out of any Cincinnati runs that they had to come back. So really good game for them. They're 2-0 in conference play. I'm not going to say like they've turned a page because we don't know what we're going to get with this team. But for them to start conference play 2-0, 1 on the road, 1 against a Cincinnati team that was very, had a really good record coming into this game. It's a good win for them. Good win for them all around. And hopefully this allows Jaleel White to get into more of a groove on offense and look for a shot a little bit, get downhill. He's a great athlete, try and finish over guys, get to the free throw line. Hopefully this means, he feels a little more comfortable with a bigger role in offense and being more aggressive going forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not just the Jaleel White game, but the Jaleel White breakout game. I hope this isn't like the last thing that we've seen from him. I mean, he's been uptaking his scoring a little bit lately, as he's been, playing more minutes, but having 16 boards obviously is huge. And, among one of his better performances with 14 points too. So very encouraging to see. And, Temple's 2-0 in the AAC. So you'll have to see that after their late non-conference struggles. All right, one more game to go over here. Ivy League play here. Penn beating Brown 76-68 to open up Ivy League play. This is somebody I haven't said in a while either, but very glad that he's back on my screen. Clark Slackert, his second game back from injury. The first one, of course, is against Wilkes, but first major competition game back after injury. 31 points, 11 of 18 from the field. Jordan Dingle had 20 points on 8 of 12 from the field. Really, really efficient night from him. Usually he's not as efficient. So it was encouraging to see. Nick Spinoso, double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. Though Spinoso and Dingle combined for 11 of the team's 14 turnovers, which is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Probably kept Brown in this a little more than they should have been. They did shoot nearly 52% from the field, which is very, very good and very encouraging to see. I know Brown isn't the most quality opponent, but what can we take away from this game from the Quakers as we go further along here into Ivy League play?
So I think the main takeaway from this game is that, hey, it looks like Clark Slackert is, I don't know what else you want to see from him to deem that he's fully healthy. He played all 40 minutes in this game. He had 31 points, got a little bit of run in the Wilkes game to get his feet back under him, but looks like he's good to go now. And we've said multiple times here with this team the whole season, what's going to happen, like late in the game, if it's close, it's going to be Slackert and Jordan Diggle that are going to bring them home here, that are going to take the shots for them down the stretch to try and lift them to some wins. And, when they combine for 51 here, I think you got a pretty good shot of winning. So they hit some tough shots. Jordan Dingle had a really, really tough catch off a cut in the paint and then got an and one off of it. Slackert hit a tough three on the wing right in front of Penn's bench. These guys show up when they need them, and that's why they've won the games they have, is because they have two incredible players in in Clark Slackert and Jordan Diggle that can score the ball, maybe as well as anybody at the mid-major level. These guys, I believe, they're still the leading scoring duo in Division I, which obviously when you have that, it's a luxury, and you're going to get a lot of points out of these guys. But my main takeaway from this game, Slackert's back. He looks healthy. Like I said, he played all 40 minutes, so it's not like there's a ramp-up period. He had been out for almost a month. So he looks good to go, and they're going to need him if they want to make the Ivy League playoffs, which I think they, knock on wood, won't have any problem doing. Hopefully they can get the 1 seed as well. But like I keep saying, that this is my Ivy League favorite. This is the team that I think should represent them in the tournament, because I believe that they're the best one. And to start conference play on the road, which doesn't matter what conference you're in, it's hard to win on the road. They showed it. They played a good game down the stretch. They got key baskets from their key players and got them a solid win on the road against the Brown team. They had a pretty solid non-conference schedule. There's certainly no slouch. So, like I said, always hard to win on the road. Good win for them to get started in 2023 in an Ivy League play. But looks like Clark Slackert is all the way back. And I will again knock on wood, because I don't want to jinx anything, but he looks 100%. He certainly played like it.
Yeah, and huge for them, because they were struggling a little bit without him. In the scoring department, it was really Dingle carrying the load, and he's still going to be the main guy, obviously. But having someone almost as equally as potent on offense as him is definitely takes a load off. So, and just take the load off everyone else too, because they have someone else who they can pass to and consistently rely on to score the basketball, which is important. So it'll be very interesting coming up. I do think that Penn can represent the Ivy League in the tournament this year, and oh boy, whoever matches up against them, if that does happen, again, knock on wood. But all right, we're gonna get into the games to come, and we're gonna go in chronological order here, as I normally try to do. Wednesday, July 4th, not July 4th. Oh my God, I saw the J when I looked up on my computer. It's fine. I barely even remember that it's 2023. January 4th. There will not be any college basketball played on July 4th, unfortunately. But Nova taking on Georgetown at Georgetown, Wednesday at 6:30. Another guy in the college basketball name upper echelon here, Primo Spears for Georgetown, averaging 16 and 4 for the Hoyas. They also have Kudus Wab, 8 rebounds. I'm praying I said his name right. And Aycock, nearly 2 rebounds per game. Also definitely up there in the upper echelon of college basketball names. We love to see that. But this Georgetown team is not great. They're 5-10 of the year. They're winless so far in Big East play. Wow, I'm on a roll here. Yeah, I'm expecting a Nova win, especially coming off 2 tough losses to UConn and Marquette, who are among the best teams in the conference. I don't see a reason why they should not win this game. Do you see a reason why they should not win this game?
Not at all. I mean, unfortunately, with them, with the injuries, them getting off to the slow start, they can't afford losses like this. Nobody can. This is one of the worst. This would be the worst loss probably of their season so far. Like you said, this team, they're a disaster. They'll probably fire Ewing at the end of the season. That's if he makes it to that point. It's getting so bad. They haven't won they've lost their last 29 high major games. Like that's how bad it's been. They went winless in the Big East last year. They haven't won a high major game in 2 years. I mean,
he got bailed out by that insane tournament run in 2020.
What are we doing? And yeah, and unfortunately, besides that tournament run that he went on, it just kind of looks bleak for Mr. Ewing. Obviously he's a legend of basketball, legend at Georgetown, but it hasn't been pretty. And it's kind of sad the way that Georgetown's fallen off. I mean, really, nobody shows up to the games at the Verizon Center, which is tough because all the students got to commute from Georgetown's campus to go downtown. It's tough because they never really get a crowd. They've been getting blown out. Butler just hung 80 on them and beat them by almost 30. They gave up 102 to Xavier at home, and Xavier's a rocket ship on offense. So, but still, to give up 100 points on your home turf, like it's just been a disaster. Then on top of that, Jay Heath, who transfers in from Boston College, I believe that the diagnosis is a broken finger. He was in a cast. He didn't play in their last game. So now you don't have one of your starters, one of your top 3 leading scorers. It's just a disaster all around for the Hoyas. This would certainly be Nova's worst loss if it happens. But this is a team that, especially down a starter in Jay Heath, they should have no problem scoring on this team. Kadus Wahab was at Maryland last year, was at Georgetown the year before. So he's back at Georgia for another stint at Georgetown. Anytime you see a guy like him, that presents a size issue for Nova, who doesn't have those 7-footers. But really, besides that, I'm not really seeing how they lose this game. I mean, they should have no problem scoring. This team has given up at least 80 points in their last 5 games. They haven't beat a high major team in almost 30. This would be 30 attempts if Georgetown lost. There's no reason why they shouldn't win this game, and they shouldn't win it handedly. So, but unfortunately with Nova, it's to the point where games like this even are must wins, more so than the high major games, because you can't afford a blemish like this on your resume. So yeah, it's probably the worst team in the Big East. It's probably not even, you don't even have to say probably at this point. It's them or DePaul, and I'd say at this point it's Georgetown. But they can't afford a loss here. They should win it. They should win it, no doubt. This team's reeling already, and now they're down one of their starters. So they're a mess. It will probably only get messier. Who knows if Ewing makes it the whole year? But it's a game for Nova you cannot lose. And even if it's a poor shooting night from 3, there's other ways that they should be able to attack this team. So it's a must win, and I think they'll definitely get it done down in our nation's capital.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't win this game, like I said. So we're not even going to talk more about it. We're just going to see what happens.
It's
and
sad
hope
what
they
it's
come
become,
out of there.
man. It's sad what
I
it's
know.
become, because Georgetown was, when Ewing was there and John Thompson, like that was one of the, if not the premier brand in college basketball at the time. And the way that they've fallen from that it's kind of sad. College basketball is better when a brand and a team like that is good, and it's been very rough going for them as of late.
Even when John Thompson III was there, he had them in the tournament. They were the number 2 seed when they had Otto Porter. I mean, they were good for a little while too. And the last, I don't know, it's probably since the Otto Porter year. I mean, since then it's just been downhill. So we're gonna hope they get back there, but I don't think it's gonna be this time against Nova. So maybe next year. All right, we're gonna move on to the Atlantic 10 once again. St. Joe's taking on Dayton. And this Dayton team, you talked about St. Louis being one of the 2 teams projected coming in the year to be the top 2 teams in the A10. Well, Dayton was the other one. This Dayton team is very, very interesting. First and foremost, they are 20th in adjusted defense on KenPom. Definitely nothing to sneeze about. That is something very, very good. And I think it's safe to say that they have a superstar in college basketball. They have Theron Holmes II. And he can do a lot. He's averaging almost 19 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. He's got 2 blocks a game, shooting at a pretty high clip for 3, though I don't know the exact, how many attempts he's taken. So I don't want to harp on that too much, but he's a superstar. He's a superstar in the A10, especially. And Tumani Kamara, 11 points per game, 9 rebounds per game. Definitely a big piece for them too. They're 10-5 in the year, so not like the most insane start, but they're a good basketball team. I would definitely say that they are the favorite to win the Atlantic 10. And this is going to be a tall task for St. Joe's on the road here, coming off a tough loss to St. Louis at home. What can they do to win this game?
So, I mean, yeah, first and foremost, got to stop Theron Holmes. Dude's a legitimate NBA prospect, was a top 100 recruit coming in last year as a freshman. I mean, this guy can do it all, and he's really a spectacular player. But you talk about this team, They were the odds-on favorite to win the Atlantic 10 this year. Very young last year with a lot of freshmen, but now that they've, been thrown into that role as young players, a lot of people expected them to make a big jump this year. Considering that they have pretty much the same team. They just all grown into sophomores and juniors. A lot of people expected big things from them. So they dropped a couple games. They get blown out of Virginia Tech. They lose one to Wisconsin. They lose to UNLV. People expected them to win those games, but this is still a good team. They still have good players. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Their point guard, Malachi Smith, has been out. Kobe Elvis as well. So they're down 2 starters who haven't played since before Thanksgiving. So one thing is we've kind of been waiting to see the Dayton in their full form, which we haven't seen yet because they've been injured. But regardless, it's still a good team. They just beat Duquesne at home in conference play. It's a tough place to go play. People like their basketball at Dayton. It's going to be loud. It's a tough place to play, though. They might sell the place out. It's been an up and coming program. You talk about the year they had in 2020, where if COVID didn't happen, they could have won the national championship that year. So it's going to be a tough place to play going into, but you got to stop DeRon Holmes. That's where it's going to start and end with them. He can step out and shoot it now in his second year. He's a legit rim protector, and he's a force on both ends. When you talk about the glass, and then they're going to look inside for him to score as well. So this guy's a handful. He's a legitimate NBA prospect. They have some shooters around him. Tumani Kamara not having a great year from 3, but I would imagine that he's due for some positive regression and can make some shots. But it's still a good team. It's the class of the A10 this year. I would say preseason, tough place to go play, but you got to stop Mr. Holmes in the middle. If he's going to run wild on you and he's going to have a good game, then unfortunately I don't really think there's anything you can do when you have a guy that's that talented. If he's going to drop 30 on you, sometimes you just got to tip your cap. But St. Joe's, their interior defense is going to have to be good. I think this is a game where you're going to have to play Ejike Obino a lot. Nothing against Rasheer Fleming or Klotchik, but they might want to put a legit center on this guy to put some size in there to try and bother him. But it's a really tough game. This is probably VCU's a tough place to play. I'd put Dayton right up there with him in terms of tough place to play in the A10. So very hostile road environment to have to go into, especially for your first conference game, and to go against a player like that and a coach in Anthony Grant, who I personally am a big fan of. It's going to be tough to sneak out a win here for St. Joe's. We've seen them stay competitive. This is a good team. It's probably going to be a potentially a CBS or maybe an ESPN Plus game. So we've seen them step up to the challenge, play Villanova very tough, be ready to play very aggressive. Hopefully we can see that again from them, but very tough, not only team to play, but environment to go into as well. So I don't know if I see this as a spot where Joe's wins. I think they opened as like 14.5-point underdogs. So clearly, the public's out there not thinking they have a chance to win this game, but it's just a tough place to play for anybody. It doesn't really matter how good you are. So I don't think they'll win this game. Hopefully they can keep it competitive, but you got to stop DeRon Holmes, because if he's going to run wild on you, then you're finished and you don't even have a chance.
Yep. I mean, it's as simple as that. And I agree. I don't think they have a great chance in this game. And I don't think they're going to win this game. I think they're probably going to lose by double digits to Dayton. And that's all that needs to be said about that. All right. 2 more to go here. We've got in the American Temple at South Florida, also Wednesday at 7. And the South Florida team's not bad at all. Tyler Harris, the leading scorer, 15.6 points per game. You're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong on this pronunciation. Russell Chua.
I think you're fine there.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to double check. I think you would know a little better than me, but also a very important piece for them, close to 10 points per game, and has 7 rebounds per game. They're 167th in KenPom, whereas Temple is 124th. So among the spectrum of 300 something plus teams in Division I basketball, pretty evenly matched here. Of course, in South Florida, so it's going to be a little tougher than if they were playing on North Broad, but nonetheless, it's going to be a game. I'm definitely looking forward to this one. I think Temple can pull this out if they continue to play the good brand of basketball that they have been. How do you see this one going?
So, I mean, the easy answer, and I don't mean to make this as a cop out here. I don't know, because like we've seen Temple do this this season where they'll win, pretty good win it, at home over Cincinnati. But then, like, is this this could very well be a letdown spot. I don't know what to expect from them. So Tyler Harris is a good player. He's a little guy, only 5'9", but can score, packs a punch. Temple has a lot of film on this guy. He spent 3 of his previous 4 years at Memphis. So they've seen him multiple times in the past before. They should know what to do with him. But yeah, this South Florida team's rough. Unfortunately, St. Joe's lost to them early in the season. They don't really have a good win this year. They don't, and they even have some bad losses to teams that they paid to show up at their place. So this is a game that they should win. They should be 3-0. But again, it's hard to win on the road in conference play. This could very well be a letdown spot for them. I don't know what Temple team we're going to get. I just hope we don't come crashing down again. And then it's like we're going to start back from square one because they have another bad loss when they could have built some momentum. So, no, I'm sorry that I can't answer that yes or no for you.
It's okay.
But we don't know what, based on the body of work from this team this year, we don't know what we're going to get. You win 3 or 4, but then you lose a couple in a row. Now they've won some games in a row. They're 2-0 in conference play. They got to win this one, though. This might be the worst team in your conference. Historically, it kind of has been. You got to win this one. But we don't know what Temple team we're going to get. So literally the only thing I want from them is effort. Don't come out sleepwalking. Don't have this as a look ahead spot to your next game. You gotta win this one. And if you want to be a good team that even has a shot at trying to win this conference or win the conference tournament, it's these games that you got to win early in the season and early in conference play. So I don't know what team we're going to get, because this seems like a typical, not even a typical, this just seems like it has maybe look ahead spot written all over it for this Temple team, because they've been hot, they've been cold, haven't really been consistent. Now they've won 2 in a row. Let's see if they can beat somebody that they very well should, and they can make it 3 in a row and a 3-0 start in conference play. So this is the game I'm going to have my eye on, because, I think Nova takes care of Georgetown easy, but we've seen Temple lose bye games and we've seen them lose to lesser opponents. If they lost this game, it wouldn't be the first time that we saw it happen. So that's why this game is the one I'm going to have my eye on. So I don't know what team we're going to get here.
I don't know either. That's the hard part.
That's part of the fun, though, with the Temple ride, I guess. You don't know who's going to show up. They could win a game like they did against Cincinnati. They could also lose this one. So I'll be definitely watching this game, though, and keep my eye on it, because this is a game that they have to win. I mean, they're already skating on thin ice, are pretty much done for the tournament now. You are totally sunk to the bottom of the ocean if you lose this one. So it's a must win for them down in South Florida. Also kind of cool doubleheader action down in South Florida. The Temple women were there tonight. The men are there tomorrow night. Unfortunately, the women could not get it done tonight. So hopefully the men's team can get it done and can avenge Temple women's basketball losing tonight. So could be a huge letdown spot, but it also could be a nice road win for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, 3 is a win streak, as we always say in sports. So it'll be good to see them. If they can come out and win this game, they'll have that win streak moniker next to them, which is something that they haven't had in a little bit. So definitely something I think as a motivational factor for them, but also that very much could be a letdown spot. All right, last game here. This is on Friday. It's 7:00. All Big 5 teams on the road that are playing this week, by the way. Penn at Cornell. 11-3 is the record of the Cornell here. They're at the top of the Ivy League right now. And they're a pretty decent team. Greg Dolan, almost 13.9 or almost 14 points per game, 13.9 points per game, and 4 assists. He shoots 57% from 3, but that's only on 51 attempts. So not an insane sample size, but definitely pretty good. Cornell's 131st in KenPom, and Penn is 151st. So again, 2 pretty evenly matched teams here. And pace is going to be a big factor in this one. They are 42nd in pace according to KenPom. Penn is 161st, which is slightly above average. So this will be pretty interesting. I want to say Penn can win this game, but it is on the road. And it's against, somebody on their level, which is something they haven't really faced since the Temple game about a month ago, or close to a month ago at this point. What do you see in this one? How is it going to play out?
So it's going to be played out on the defensive end for Penn. This Cornell team can score a lot. They scored 100 at Miami. Unfortunately, they lost, though, because they gave up 105, 108 or something like that. So we know this team can score. So it's going to come down to Penn on the defensive end. Can we not turn the ball over? Can we not let them get easy ones or run up the score? But to me, it's the defensive end. If they can keep this Cornell team at bay, not have them shoot the lights out, I'd have them score up a bunch of points, keep them maybe below 80. I think this is definitely a game that they can win. But then again, you bring up a good point. Definitely, we talk so much about it's hard to win on the road in conference play. It's never a given. Even if you play a bad team on the road, it's never a given that you can win a game of conference play. And Cornell's been good. They're probably going to be in that top 4 this year, I'd imagine, if they keep on the same trajectory that they're on. So I could see this game going both ways, of course. I could see them losing because, hey, this is a good team in the Ivy League. They're on the road. I could see this as a game that they could drop. But at the same time, if they can lock up on the defensive end, they can get another good game out of Jordan Dingle and Clark Slacker, then I think this is a game they can win as well. So I think it'll be close. This will be another one I'm keeping my eye on when it gets played. But we're going to find out a lot about this Penn team. They've had a lot of time off. They've only played a handful of games. They played 2 games pretty much in the last
2 games in 3 weeks.
Yeah, against D1 opponents. So this is going to be a tough one for them. It's a good team that can score, get up and down a little bit. It's down to Penn on the defensive end to try and stop that. So I can see this game playing out both ways. But I'm going to take Penn to get the win here because I think they are that good. I think they are the class of this conference this year, and I think they will be the number 1 seed in the Ivy League tournament. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this team represents the Ivy League in the NCAA tournament. So because of that, I'm going to buy Penn in this spot. And I'm going to take them to win this game, even though Cornell can definitely score on them. And if they lost this game, I wouldn't be surprised because it's on the road against a good team in the conference. But give me Penn to steal a close game here. And move to 2-0 in the Ivy League. I think they're definitely capable of it. And if you're going to be the class of the league, gotta win tough games like this in tough environments. So Penn's heading up to a beautiful town in Ithaca. It's gorgeous up there. I loved being up there with Penn football when I was there. But give me Penn to squeak one out here as a bit of a bold prediction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think that's that bold of a prediction. These 2 teams are pretty evenly matched, and Penn definitely, coming into the season was, like you said, the class of the Ivy League, and they have the talent to be that. And Cornell has just been a really good team too this year. So we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna say that English. Hold on. Okay. Penn has the talent to compete with Cornell in this game. Slacker continues his hot streak, and Dingle plays like we know Dingle plays. Obviously, it'll help, with guys like Nick Spinoso being that third guy. But, I think this game they can win. And to be the best, you got to beat the best. So give me Penn in this one. Lots of exciting basketball this week. And, we're gonna talk about LaSalle for the weekend. They didn't make this episode for upcoming games because they don't play till Saturday. But we'll get that in the next episode. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one. Very, very excited for this week. Anything on your mind as we close out here?
So one last thing, I don't want to make this a rant. I saw something today about the NCAA trying to incorporate 25% of all D1 schools into, which would be good for about 96 teams, to make a whole new March Madness bracket and include 96 teams. Can we stop trying to mess with this thing? It is the most perfect tournament, most perfect postseason in sports. I personally think 64 was fine. They want to move it to 68. Okay, that's fine. You get 2 more days of TV out of it. You get some more games. Okay, not mad at that. But 68, no more than that. No more than that. Don't jumble it up and put 96 teams in with a bunch that aren't deserving to get there. It's hard to make the tournament. That's the whole aura around it. It's hard to make the tournament. Let's not mess with it. There's nothing wrong with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's perfect the way it is. I think it'd be perfect with 64 teams, but I'm not mad at all that there's 68. But it's perfect the way it is. Let's not do that. Let's not reward a team that went like 500 in conference play and is only a couple games over 500 to get like an at-large. They didn't earn it.
No.
It's hard to make the tournament, and that's what's so fun about it and so difficult is that only 68 teams get there. Besides all your automatic bids, there's only another handful of spots that you got to compete for. So let's not do that. Let's not add 96 teams in and do this whole like participation trophy thing where it's like, oh, we need to put a quarter of the teams in. There's not enough. These teams got left out. We should put them in. 68 teams is fine. It's the most perfect.
If you want to make the tournament, play better basketball.
There you go. You said it, not me. But let's not do that and make a 96 team bracket. Let's not. Let's not. I mean, I guess I get the concept of it would be cool. You get more March Madness, but the quality of it just.
No, I'd rather have the quality. The quality is perfect where it is, and the quantity is also perfect where it is. 64, I think, is perfect. 68, I'm definitely not mad at. Another couple of days of TV and games, like you said, and they've been some pretty exciting games over the last few years since it's been 68. So I'm not mad at that, like you said. But yeah, there's no reason for it to be any more than 68. Just like for the college football playoff, I'm glad they expanded it to 12. I think that'll be really cool to see what happens. Should never go past that.
Yeah.
Should never go past that.
Let's not mess with it. And then there was talk that like, oh, there'll be a separate tournament where there's no mid-major or low majors and it's just the high major teams. Again, like those teams, you're just like, oh, well, the Power 5 teams, some of them like they deserve to be into. They didn't play well enough. It's what it comes down to. Don't mess with it.
That's what makes March Madness great. You get the mid and low major teams winning games. That's what everybody thinks of when they think of March Madness.
So whoever is trying to mess with that, stop. Find something else to do. Don't mess with
touch
the
grass.
It's perfect the way it is. It is perfect. Do not mess with it. There's no reason. There's nothing like there. Whatever you're doing in the NCAA office, believe me, your most pressing issue is not fixing the tournament. There's a billion more things that are more important than that you can do. Do not mess with the tournament, please. Please, please, please. Do not mess with the tournament. 68 teams is fine. We don't need 96 of them. Keep it the way it is. I didn't want to make that a long rant, but I can't stay every time somebody's like, oh, we should do this, do that. No, keep it the way it is. It's awesome the way it is. Nobody's complaining that it sucks or that it needs improvements. It delivers every single year and it's awesome. Keep it the way it is.
There's not one person asking for this. So
yeah. Or if somebody is like, bring them to me. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
They can come on the pod if they think
I'm not here to get mad at you. Let's talk. Let me hear let me hear you out. But no.
If you think March Madness should be 96 games, you're invited on this pod.
Please talk. Open invite too. Open invite. We'll work around this guy.
We're going to put this out. Open invite.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think that's all we got. So, excuse me. Oof. I had some tacos for dinner. They were phenomenal. Shout out to Local Pets in Philadelphia. They were so good. Anyway, that's all we got for this episode of the Big Five Pod. Make sure you like, subscribe on our YouTube. Make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Big Five Pod. And thank you all, as always, for your continued support. We love doing this, and we're going to keep doing it. So appreciate you guys as always. We will have more for you this weekend when we go over the weekend games, and very excited for this week of basketball. And with that being said, we will see you all this weekend.